everybody's seen those videos or any GIFs or whatever they happen to be, in which something you look at a picture and it's something, and then it turns slowly to the side and it becomes something totally different, like the American flag turns into a map of the United States, essentially, or an outline of the United States, however you want to look at that. I think we've all seen that. And the point of all of that is to show the difference that perspective makes on a given thing. It's actually real. They've actually got something where they've done that. That's what's going on there. I want to talk today on the idea of a picture's worth on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 22nd of May of 2022. That would be the beginning of the Christian week, according to many of us Christian folk. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on Minds, MINDS.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be picking me up today. Subject again for today is a picture's worth, and tomorrow we're going to talk on, I'll get to that later. I see that I forgot to put it in my notes, but we'll figure all of that out as we go. All of that out as we go. I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes to give you some ideas, sort of what I'm thinking about all of this, but I think for the most part you're probably getting an idea just based on what I've already said to this place. I'm not even sure real pictures were invented at the time the phrase was first coined, a picture's worth 1,000 words. They might have been talking about photos, but they might have been talking about paintings or whatever. If you've ever taken the time to do any serious writing, you'll realize 1,000 words is not a lot of space in which to convey ideas. By the way, I tend to write more than 500 words for the scripted pieces of my podcast. Just for the piece that's in my notes today, 677 words, in case you're wondering. So yeah, I tend to write more than 500 words in most of those scripted things. That considered, I want to point something out that doesn't per se disprove the idea of a picture's or even a video's worth as much as calling their value into question, most particularly in forensic analysis, but potentially at all. I won't say at all. There are times when it's just nice to look at a picture, to be fair. But for a good many situations. There are, quote, famous images that show how changing the angle of that image or even a video can totally change what you see. There are also examples of people editing out bits of both so they seem to portray something different than what's actually there. In one instance, a supposed trusted source trimmed an image, that is, cut the edges of it off, to make it not appear that something was in an individual's hand, what was presumed by another to be a handgun, in order to, it appears, make it look like a police officer had fired on a person they were pursuing without cause. There are other such things. The one where a photographer took two images from different angles, one showing people looking bunched together like they were really close, right? The other showing they were supposedly more than 6 feet apart. I had somebody a year or two ago present a video counting it the, quote, gold standard for evidence on a given subject. Bad enough the person was using a single video to try to discuss something they stated was rampant, i.e. that it happened all the time. Then there was the fact that what appears to be happening in the video may be the reality or may not be, depending on how well that set of moving pictures framed what was actually occurring. Again, the angle makes all the difference, right? They used to say Humphrey Bogart, I think it was, stood on a box because most of his leading ladies were way taller than he was, if this gives you any idea. To be fair, I'm not arguing they didn't do so reasonably represent the thing in question. Then again, I'm not making the statement they did as much either. I'll not argue that having an image or movie of a given thing or set thereof occurring is inherently a bad thing. Then again, I'm not generally ready to call it a good one either. Take that shot from here, get something that looks like this, get it from over there, a whole different scenario unfolds. This is why eyewitnesses are so very important. And that's as faulty as they may be, because they might be wrong in what they thought they saw. One of the reasons one supposes the Bible talks about the presence of 2 or 3, or maybe it was 2 or more witnesses, right? Because the point is, one witness is not necessarily to be trusted either. It's you against me. That's what it ends up being. Like it or not, trying to determine the situation from a single still shot or even a relatively short video is not a good way to go by and large. Is what the creator said happened what actually occurred, or what their lens said happened, if you prefer? Maybe. The problem is, even though it's preserved for posterity, it's entirely possible the result of a recording of one sort or other is not what it appears. Many will argue, and I think for many circumstances rightly so, the ability to snap a pic or capture a set of happenings on a second's notice is a good thing. I think that's more for other purposes, enjoyment and so forth. There are times it's just not enough. Maybe it can be something to consider, but counting it as a sole source and valid information, that's another thing entirely. If you can come up with shots or videos from multiple angles, then things become somewhat better. Still not great. Even then, I'm not of a mind I would decide a murder trial on such evidence. You at least have to worry about before and after, what happened before and after the image or video. Even with multiple angles, you don't necessarily see the whole picture either. That's not how that works. What's the worth of a picture or video? Maybe it's not as great as many would like to believe. Done with my notes. Look. Here we go again with look. I want you to understand something. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that people by and large are intentionally intending to misrepresent something that happened by presenting a picture or a video that obfuscates reality as a result of the angle or the length of the video, not including what happened before and after, trimming the video down so that it doesn't show something that's actually there or whatever. I'm not saying that they were necessarily intentionally trying to cause bad things to happen, improper things to happen. I'm not saying that. On the other hand, I want to make something perfectly clear where that's concerned. My attitude about that is, I get that you've got this picture. I get that you have that video. It may even be reasonably good, but I question whether or not there are things going on that people don't see. I really do. That I miss when I look at the video. And it's one of the reasons that I do not tend to treat videos and pictures as really good sources of information. I can say this looks like that's what that says or does, but I don't care who's presenting it and whether it's to exonerate or to pronounce guilty somebody. I don't care what it is. I'm not buying just off of the picture or the video. There was a case, I forget the young man's name, in which a young man people were trying to say a young man was guilty of wrongdoing, and people around that young man were saying, no, he did right, he did what he was supposed to do, and it was a shooting case, and people were trying to say that other people weren't after him, and they were trying to say that the video showed as much and so forth, but witnesses were there to say that it was, and as far as I know, it was more than one witness. And I forget the young man's name now. You'd know it if you heard it, I promise. And you'd know the event because it was very well publicized, and people tried to make out like he was some horrible human being and he was a racist and all kinds of things. The first thing I would say about the racist thing is anybody who knows anything about what happened knows that he was white, and all of the people that he was dealing with were white as well. So that racism, I don't think I'm buying that to begin with. But that having been said, the point is that also everybody who stood in, or many people who stood in witness to what happened, will acknowledge that that young man was beset by some individuals and fired only in a reflexive, defensive manner when that happened. And that's what I need for you to know. The videos, the pictures, they may seem to say one thing to you, but what I want for you to understand is that doesn't mean that that's the reality, even though the videos or the pictures seem to say that. You think they're the gold standard. Let me just tell you that there's a reason people expect for there to be witnesses. And by the way, that's one of the things I have a problem with in the modern day court system, is lots of times they'll use forensic evidence and say, that's good enough. And I'm like, no, you really have no idea what happened. Oh, you say there was blood all over the inside of this vehicle? What happened if somebody cut themselves, bled to death, and the other person panicked and cleaned out the vehicle thinking, I'm going to not be accused of this because that's what I think people are going to do if I allow that to happen? What happens? You don't know. You don't know what happened. And I'm not trying to say that you therefore necessarily find the person innocent, but I will tell you that a lot of times forensic evidence doesn't cut it, and certainly that's true for videos and pictures. Okay. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 22nd of May of 2022. That would be the beginning of the beginning of the Christian week today. That is correct. Tomorrow will be Monday, the 23rd of May of 2022. That will be the beginning of what most people who do the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday grind count the work week, the standard work week. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com, on mindsandmynds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there for this particular video. I think is the only place that you're going to find it. On Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be seeing or hearing me today. Now, I said that I forgot the subject for tomorrow. Today's has been a picture's worth. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about living forever. What a concept. Living forever sounds good. Is it really a great thing? Well, I don't know that I would argue that. We'll get into that tomorrow. I think you're going to find that my arguments are somewhat interesting. And by the way, they're made from the position of a person who's not all that young. Okay, so hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. And hopefully we will see you on the next edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. That edition will be occurring on, get back to my other screen here, Monday, the 23rd of May of 2022, and we'll be on Living Forever. Hope that you'll come along and check that out, and hopefully we will see you if you do so. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Sunday, the 22nd of May of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.